All right, episode 3, let's go. First thing, let's take a look at where we are at. Here's where we're at currently. We have our model hiding in between all of the vanilla body parts. We are going to remove all of the non-Lexus parts from our appearance next. First thing we want to do is create a backup of our app file. So we're going to right click and copy, then we're going to go to the exact same folder and just hit paste. That should come in the same location but with a copy tag. I'm going to rename that to be _back for backup, and we're going to open our regular app file. So in our appearance file, we're going to open up the appearances, and the appearance we have, we're going to open up the components. Now, since we just created the body, we have the body correct, we are going to remove the other components from this list, almost all of them. Shift click the first and then bottom entry. Oh, don't scroll here. All the elements need to be visible on screen when you do this. Go ahead and delete section, and we're going to leave the body and the body shadow. And at the end of the components list, we're also going to leave the unnamed appearance proxy mesh component and the appearance visual controller. Once you've cleared out the components list, we're going to hit Control S to save the app file. And we're going to also open our appearance visual controller and the appearance dependency inside. This is another reference to all the meshes in our vehicle. I will have to remove these as well. Make sure to save along the way each time you remove a large amount of items from a file, as well as make sure you always have a backup available. Go ahead and save it like this, and now we are going to give it a test, see how this looks in game. As you can see, everything else is now removed, so we only can look at the body mesh, which is good. So next, we're going to try to remove this camouflage pattern happening here, so that it is a clean texture across the entire mesh. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Go back to Wolvenkit, and we're going to open up our body mesh. Open up the local material buffer in the materials list. This will be a list of all the different textures, materials that can be used on the vehicle. Your vehicle name followed by mask set. This will be the typical exterior materials for a vehicle. Go ahead and open up the values and open up the multi-layer mask, and you will see a mlmask file. We're going to add this to our project. If we open this up, we can open up any random multi-layer, and this is where that camouflage texture comes from. It's a combination of all these layers on top of each other. In order to use this ourselves, we are going to create a new folder in our project called textures. And we're going to move the mlmask into that textures folder. Next, we open up the export tool from the tools menu. If it doesn't show up, hit refresh here. It should load all of the files that are available for export. We're going to go to our mlmask file, and we're going to hit export selected. This should create a lot of PNGs in your raw files. We're going to open one of these in Explorer. And here it has all of the layers exported as PNGs. What we actually want is to ignore the mask layers, since we will be doing it separately with the model settings. So look for one of these files should be completely black, such as the last one is likely black. We're going to keep the fully black file in the folder, and we're going to keep the fully white PNG file in the folder. All of the rest of these can be deleted. And you'll notice that this is mask set underscore 0. This one's mask set underscore 19. We're going to copy the black file, and we're going to paste it and rename it so it fills the next number. So we have an 18, now we have a 19. Paste it in again, we'll rename it so that it is mask set underscore 17. And we will continue doing this until we have all 20 black mask set layers. Now we have all of the black images created, along with the one white image as the 0 value. We can exit from that. We have all of these files created in this mask set layers folder, which is in the same folder as this mask list file. Now we're going to go to Tools and go to Import, and on refresh, it should recognize the mask list file. Go ahead and hit that, and hit Import Selected. And now, if we open up this mlmask file, you should see that each of these multi-layers is just a blank black PNG, which is good. We don't want textures on these files. At this point, I like to delete the mask list and the mask list layers because it creates 20 files that just clogs up the Project Explorer. For the mask set, I'm now going to rename that. We can rename it to something similar to our file structure. Here I will call it Lexus LFA empty mask. Now we are going to go back to our body mesh, open up the local material buffer, materials, and the exterior mask set. Open up the values, multi-layer mask. Instead of this vanilla mlmask file, we will copy the relative path of our custom one and paste this in the value for the multi-layer mask. Now it should use our empty mask instead. We'll go ahead and hit Control S to make sure that applies. One more thing to do before it's ready to go. We're going to go into our appearances, open up the default and chunk materials. Again, this is going to be a list of layers that matches the OBS object that we export. Here we have 13 layers, so we're going to need 13 chunk material entries. Starting at 0, that means we'll need through 12. Anything after that is unnecessary. So 13 through 48. Shift click to select all of those. Right click, delete selection. Control S again as we're making a large modification. Make sure it applies. Next, we're going to open up the material entries in our mesh. Then we'll open up the mask set material entry that we are using. This will be the name of the material entry that's referenced in the chunk materials. I'm going to simply rename this to a custom name called Lexus LFA external mask set. We're going to actually select it and copy it into our clipboard with Control C. And you'll notice if I close the material entries and open the local material buffer and open materials, the name for this first entry has already been updated. So when we update the name of material entries, you'll see it also has an index number, index 0. So then if we go to the local material buffer and look at the index 0 of this material list, it does indeed use the Lexus LFA exterior mask set name. And that has our custom mlmask as well. Next we'll open up the appearances, and we're going to change all of these to be our new mask set. Now when you copy and paste this, it might close the chunk materials folder. Just paste it in and hit Control S. Now we can open it and you'll see it's updated. Easiest way to do this is probably going to be to duplicate it. So we're actually going to delete all of these. Then we'll right click on this and hit the entry, duplicate item and array buffer. And we are going to do this until we have 13 items listed. Hit Control S to save our mesh. Now that we've saved, we can go ahead and test. And now it comes in a solid color. And we can see everything clearly. No camouflage texture on it. So this should be much easier for noticing body defects and for development. It's very clear to see everything. Now we go back to Wolvenkit and we're going to rename our mlmask Plexus LFA mask 00. And we want to make sure we have a number at the end here for this empty mask. We're going to do double digit 0. Next we're going to create a new ML mask for each layer. So if we open this up, we can see all of the layers laid out at the top. And we can see, if we click the drop down, look to the end, this goes up to 19. So we have 0 through 19. That's 20 total layers. It should be 20 because there are 20 layers to an MLSetup file, which are the actual material textures. Alright, so we're going to create a duplicate of our ML mask in the same folder, so just copy and paste it. And we are going to rename this, and we are going to just put an X at the end, just to mark it as different. And then we're going to pull up our export tool, export the new X mask, as we've done before. Then we're going to go to the PNG layers, hit the yellow Open in File Explorer button, and you can see the layers that we created before should be all black except for the first white image. Now what I'm going to do is set the number 1 PNG to be white, just like this. So I'm actually just going to delete the 1 PNG, copy and paste the white PNG, and just rename it so it's now _1. Now we're going to go back into Wolvenkit, going to find the import tool, refresh, and you should see that 00X mask list in there. We're going to import that as selected. That should update this mask list. If we open it, we'll see that the 0 layer is white and the 1 layer is also white. That's good. We're going to copy and paste this X1. Since we just changed the 1 layer into being white, we're going to rename this so it is now 0, 1. So now we have 0, 0, 0, 0X, and 0, 1. Now we're going to go back to our folder here, and we're going to repeat the process but change 2 to be the white layer. So I'm going to delete 2. I'm going to rename the 1 file. So that's now 2. And I'm just going to copy and paste this 3 since it is black, rename it as 1. So now we have white as 0, black as 1, white as 2, and black for the rest. Now, once again, we're going to go to the import tool. Just going to import it again as before. And now this 00X should be updated. Layer 1 is black, layer 2 is white. That's good. Copy, paste it, rename the duplicate now. Be 02. And now we have 2 of our layers done. We are going to repeat this process for every single layer in this ML mask. So we'll need to create a total of 0 through 19. I'm going to do that process now and speed through it. And here we copy paste. This is our final layer. This is 19. Now these layers should be good to go. But first we're going to check every one of them just to be sure that the layers are configured correctly. Just make sure that the white layer is in the correct layer. 0, 1 is white, layer black. On 2, layer 1 is black, layer 2 is white. Good. 3, we check layer 3. Good. 4, we'll check 4. You can exit all of these with this exit button here. Now we're safe to delete the 0x mlmask. And I'm going to delete the layers folder and the mask list file as well to clean up Project Explorer raw files here. Go ahead and collapse this textures folder as well so it's not taking up so much room. And we can move on to the next step. So next we're going to add the mlsetup file, which is also found in the body mesh. Open up the material buffer, open up the material instance that we just modified, go to the multi-layer setup, and we can add that to our Project Explorer. I'm immediately going to move this into our textures folder and rename Lexus LFA. And now we are going to right click and hit convert to JSON. We will open up that new JSON in the Explorer, and we'll need to know this path. Next we're going to go to Home in Wolvenkit, top left, go to Plugins, and we are going to open MLSetupBuilder. Update it if needed, or install. Hit open, it will open up the folder that it installed to, and you can run mlsetupbuilder.exe. Here is MLSetupBuilder. You'll see first we have a layers list. These are directly related to each of the mlmask layers that we just created. So each of these layers is going to be directly related to the layers here. And we have 0 through 19. These will be the actual material settings. When you edit a specific one, you can change it on the material settings here. These are the material layers, 0 through 19, so we have 20 material layers. Each layer can be modified through the material settings in the middle here. And blending can be modified in the core blends panel. To open up our MLSetup, we're going to go to the top left, go ahead and hit import, and we're going to navigate to our Wolvenkit project. Navigate to the raw resource path. Here's our mlsetup.json. Hit open. And here you can see all of the materials imported and detected in the file. And we're going to hit import the multi-layer setup. And this will bring it into our editor. So to modify a material layer, we'll simply click on it in the layer panel. That'll bring it up on the right. You can click on the material preview, and that will bring up all of the materials that are available by default in the base game. We can type in the top to filter different material types. Look for paint. That will print out all of the matching material names. Here we can see car paint metallic 1. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Once it's surrounded in orange, it's selected. Next, we can modify the color in this section here. You are able to use any color selection that is in this color palette. If it's not in this color palette, you cannot use that color. We can add colors to this palette. We'll be going over that at a later point though. So to start, let's say I'd like to see it be this bright red. We'll go ahead and click on it. That will select it into the color code preview. And now, once we have all of our material settings in the material windows, we will click Apply Edits. And now this material setting is saved to this layer. If you're looking at a different material and you say, modify this to bare iron, gold iron, now that's changed. You'll see it has a hazard icon. here to warn you that these are not saved. If I click on the third layer here, any changes I made are now lost on the first layer. You must always click Apply Edits before selecting a different layer. So now that we have a paint color selected and applied to the layer, we can export this. Go to the top left and we will hit Export. Should bring up the same folder. We're going to want to replace the same mlsetup.json. Now we can go back into Wolvenkit, go down to our mlsetup.json, right click, convert this from JSON. You get a success import in the console, and you can verify by opening the mlsetup, view its properties under the layers, and we modified the 0 layer. We should see our new material settings, and we do. Car paint metallic template. So it did save the car change. Next we want to update the body mesh. So we'll open the body mesh to the properties, open the local material buffer, open the first mask set, and we'll go into values. And below the mlmask that we already updated, we're going to edit the multi-layer setup value. So instead of being the vanilla one, we're going to copy the relative path from our mlsetup, and we're going to paste it in to the depot path. Hit enter, Control S to save the mesh. And in the body mesh as well, we will update our multi-layer mask with the current name. No longer empty mask, we call it mask 00. Save and install and launch. And it appears in the solid red color that we selected. Aha! You'll see there's some oddities we still have to take care of. This is a result of needing to modify the UV mapping of the textures for the actual object in Blender, but we'll get into that later. So at this point, to further separate materials, we have our different layers here, right? In Blender, these are our 13 layers. Each one of these corresponds to a different type of material, and each of those materials will correspond with one of these entries in the chunk materials setting. Since they're all set to the exact same value, they're all going to use this local material buffer mask set, which we just configured to be red. So if you were to set other material instances to other colors and set them to a different mask number, so if instead of 0, we could set this to 1, and that would use the second material option. That would use this value. It would be blue because I have 1 set to blue. Red is 0, blue is 1. So if we set this to 1, now it will render as blue. We can even test that really quick. Save the body mesh, install and launch. Now we have a blue car, just as the MLSetup dictated. Good, so that covers the basics of MLSB, as well as setting up the material layers of your vehicle on Wolvenkit. That will be the end of episode 3 for the tutorial. I do want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone watching if you made it this far. I appreciate it. All of the comments and engagements on the videos is very encouraging for me to continue the series, so I appreciate that very much, and I wish you the best continuing your vehicle projects.